So into that, I do a ton of autoregulation, tons of autoregulation. Are you very strict in sets, reps? Because I mean, you say you give me 3 years, I'll give you Mozart. So tell me how intra sessions throughout the week, throughout the month, how concise, how precise are you with every aspect of the training and progressions?
Well, probably to most people imprecise because it's biological. It is, if you do it well, you can be pretty good.
Mhm.
Um, but a long time ago, I stopped using sets and reps per se. I'll use sets and rep thresholds. So, I'll say I want you between 4 and 6. If you get 4, we'll increase the weight and decrease the weight. If you can't go 4, if you get 6, we'll increase. And so I keep thresholds. So that way it allows for some fatigue, some change. And if they're out of that window, I know we got a real problem, or I'm dumb, like I made a mistake, or they're really fatigued. Now, mind you, I'm also long before Aura rings and other things, I was doing Omega Wave and
Mhm.
whatever I could for recovery. So I've had a pretty good idea what recovery would be for a long, long time. Um, yeah, so I'm practically imprecise, I guess would be or practically precise. I'm not quite sure which way to put that. But um, yeah, when I write a workout, I know full well I'm probably going to change it
Yeah.
because in track and field, now if I'm in a basketball court or whatever, it's different. You're in a standard environment. But when I'm in track, I go outside one day it's 42, the next day it's 70. One day it's a headwind, blazing, then it's
Yeah.
raining and it's cold. I mean, you've got environmental factors. Now indoors it's much easier. And in indoors, I'm more precise because the environment's taken away. But once you go outdoors, yeah, all that gets thrown out the window. I mean, may have to change your whole workout,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm. Yeah. So you touched on the recovery aspect. I love the Aura Ring. I've helped a lot of guys with a lot of their recovery issues and even a lot of their mental issues like depression, anxiety, just from being
Hmm.
able to, you know, eh, objectively quantify whatever it is that they're measuring, whether it's accurate or not, at least it's consistent and we can see what we can measure and how we can make the adjustments. But for your recovery protocols, can you go specifically into your pool recovery?
Yeah, I mean, my pool recovery is pretty simple. It's just not complex at all. First of all, it's vertical immersion. It's with
Mhm.
flotation. It's rarely on the bottom. You go on the bottom if you don't have a choice, because you still have a pressure column even if you're on the bottom. I mean, if you're at 5.5 feet, you're going to take care of the pressure column that you'll be achieving with deeper water. But we do mobility work, um, some running drill type activities. We'll finish it. We'll do, usually I like to have a small pool. Um, we'll do, and I can give you the document. I can send it over to you. But um, we do one time around with one and another time around with another. So we do froggies and you might do cross country skiers or straight leg, just things to mobilize the hips mostly. And then, of course, you're pumping the superficial lymphatics and the venous return. And that's why I'm never afraid of a pool workout because I know what it does physiologically. And with my 800-meter runner, we're in the pool every day. So we'll have a session in the water and a session on the dry land. Um, and then we finish up with some short sprints, 5 to 10 second short sprints. And then we do water relaxation where we just lay in the water. So we put flotation on our feet, heads, and back, and we just close our eyes and go through your visualization of whatever it is. Either you want to do that day or maybe just what a perfect race or block start or whatever we may decide on. And you just sit there and you just visualize it.
Are you working with them in the pool? Are you sitting there and you're walking them through the visualization?
Um, I'll set it up beforehand, and then let them do it in the pool. They'll come to the side and then we'll talk about it and then they'll go back out. We also may have we have one apparatus that Leroy Perry showed me many, many years ago where we'll take and we'll have a um, flotation belt, and we'll attach from front to back. We'll attach a long bungee, and then we'll put a weight on it. And so now while you're moving, you're also getting traction. So you get that nice subtle traction while your hips are going through and moving in all these different directions. So it really works well. So if you have anybody with low back problems, that where traction is a resolution to it, it's a great way to get them to do it.
That's
And they don't
awesome.
have any fear. Yeah, it's cool. We use flotation cuffs or flotation sandals so that they can relax, and the sandals take them into a little bit greater range of motion. So you're working the range of motion there. Um, and like I said, because you're vertically immersed in water, you have a pressure differential from toes to lymphatic points. Your superficial lymphatic moves up and dumps here on the left side. Legs, trunk, and left side all here. Right side is right side and head. And then you've got another low pressure system, and that is your venous return to the heart. Another low pressure system. So you're actually increasing that, which means the right side of your heart has to do better at getting to the left and moving stuff out. So your cardiac stroke volume can increase quite a bit. That's why distance runners, 2 or 3 times in the pool a week, it's great for them.
That's awesome. Now,
I mean,
what if you don't have access to a pool? What are you doing?
don't like it. Yeah, if I don't have access, we're a little screwed, you know.
It's
So,
that vital. It's that vital for your recovery.
oh, it's without a doubt. I mean, we did Omega Wave with we did jogging 12 minutes, massage, pool recovery, bicycling 12 minutes, all level 1, heart rates. So just low level 2, level 1. And number 1 was pool. Number 2 was jogging. It's for track and field athletes. Number 2 was jogging. Number 3 was bike, and number 4 was massage.
Jogging was better than the bike.
Yeah, yeah, which
Even the
surprised me.
ground impacts. I would not have
Well,
thought
it
that.
was so subtle. And I mean, today, if we're jogging for recovery, we're putting little booties on and we're jogging barefoot,
Mhm.
but to protect the feet from chemicals and whatever's in the grass. Um, and then let me think here. We didn't do sauna and cold plunge though, which has a place in there hormonally, without a doubt.
So why didn't you do sauna cold plunge?
I didn't have it available to do,
Gotcha.
So my world would be pool, sauna, cold plunge would be
Mhm.
the three. If you're building a facility or you need it, those would be the three that I would make sure I had.
How big of a pool would you need?
You don't need a big pool. Basically 10 meters or 7 meters by 7 meters a square. You want it 2 meters deep at least. You'd like to have a 40 centimeter ledge around it, all the way around with a bar. So you can sit on the ledge and do all leg swings and all those things you might want to do. Um, in Bellingham, Washington, they've got their swimming center there has a perfect. I don't even know what it was designed for, but it's perfect for indoor. Because you got a nice square. But I think theirs must be. I'm going to say it's pretty close to 10 meters by 10 meters, and that allows you to put enough people in. And of course, you can hook up harnesses on the side if you want to do running in place if you have much bigger groups. Um, but as you design a pool like that, it's important to have that appropriate depth.
Mhm.
Maybe even one of those big Badu jets, so you can work against it. My ultimate preference is to have a HydroWorks treadmill sitting there, but
You like those?
oh yeah, I was helped in the development of it at the beginning back in 96,
And you would
95,
use that for
96.
recovery.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's great for that. That's great. We didn't have one of those to test either. But now you're combining water and running,
Mhm. The two best
so you
recovery.
Yeah, so you can take and you can drop the depth of the pool so you have 20%, impact on the leg, on the feet, and then you're running. So works great.
That's
So you're
awesome.
getting you're getting the pumping action of the running motion, which is why I think running worked better than the bike, because there was just this better overall pumping action of the superficial lymphatics in
Was
running
it
than there
was
was
it a
in
seated
cycling.
bike or recumbent?
That was a seated. The recumbents aren't as effective, but I like recumbents for the senior. I mean, I own two recumbents. I ride recumbents mostly. Um, it's just better, lower blood pressure. You know, you don't it's a lot easier on your hands and
Hmm.
elbows and shoulders. That's for sure. That's usually the first reason everybody moves to a recumbent, is their shoulders and wrists just don't want to be on a road bike anymore. You know, on top of the fact they're more efficient until you get to a hill, but on the flats, you can cruise along. Even if you're not in shape, you can cruise along with good cyclists pretty easily. I mean, it's nothing to cruise along at 23, 24 miles an hour
Hmm.
on a recumbent.
Did you ever read the book Healing is Voltage?
I haven't read that one. I've obviously been a huge part of electrical healing for years. Um, I've got Becker's book up here behind me someplace, um, The Body Electric,
Hmm.
which was the first of those books available. Um, but yeah, really got into electrical microcurrent healing and frequency healing back in the early 80s, living in Eugene. That my friend Jack Scott was really into it, and Jack introduced me, and then I got to see how effective it was, and it was like, okay, this stuff works extremely well. Now we go down some deeper rabbit holes. So I don't should talk about those things too much, because most people think you're absolutely crazy then.
Hmm. Did you ever hear of Jerry Tennant?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so his book is Healing is Voltage. Um, and it's he goes into how there's stem cells in the fascia.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
the different frequencies. Have you ever used uh electricity or current, whatever it is, voltage to heal or to enhance recovery?
Oh, yeah, for 40 years.
And
I
how?
got I got 4 units sitting right here behind me. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a main part. I mean, electromassage with the microcurrent was the very first thing. Works exceptionally well. Um, you look at some of the other frequency-based stuff for certain problems. I've got all the right frequencies sitting in here someplace, and we use things like Quantec and zappers, and I've got a zapper here, and I've got a micro myomatic sitting back behind me as well.
What
Um,
frequencies do you notice are best for recovery?
well,
Like what
you know,
hertz?
hertz, like with lymphatic removal, 300 hertz, and with healing in general, we found the lower the better. So microcurrent versus, or actually even picoamps, microamps versus picoamps. I mean, even and milliamps really are not very effective in healing at all. But microamps and then picoamps are even better. But finding a pico generator is not easy these days. They're few and far between. Um, there's, I mean, you asked that question. There's probably like 10,000 frequencies I have in my computer here. Um, that you can utilize for different things. Um, but in general, we use zero point 0.3 and 40 a lot. You use 40 and 3,
40 and 3
and
what hertz?
yeah, 40 hertz and 3 microamps. I mean, sorry, 3 hertz and 40 microamps. Yeah, microamps. Um, I didn't have much of this to use in China, so it was really hard to not have the tools that I was used to having. Um,
And
and I and then
where are you hooking this up to?
Oh, it
When you're
depends.
Just
I actually don't hook up a lot. I use my hands or tools. Like I'll use Graston because they're metal, the original ones, and I'll just hook it up to
ah
Graston. And so now I'm letting the tool do its work with the current. I'll take
ah.
an ice cup and invert it, and I'll slap and tape a carbon pad on the ice cup, and then let the current flow through the ice cap so you get ice and current at the same time. I'll use
What
my
what
hand with a
unit what
glove.
what unit are you using for the microamps and the picoamps? Because I have a an Edo, Japanese Edo that's it's milliamps.
Yeah, I've bought a couple of used Myomatics. I just find them online because I've owned them for over the years, and I still find them to be the most effective, even to this day. Um, and you can find them online. I mean, I think I bought the last one for like $600. They're
Yeah,
$6,000 unit,
yeah.
And I gave one to one of my old assistants. He was interested because he's an osteopath, um, physical therapist who also coaches the sprints. He's doing a really good job himself with his own group now in Italy. But the first time he tried this, I said, "You've never tried Mike?" I said, "Come here." So we had a kid with not one of my athletes, but another kid with a hamstring, pretty spasmed. And I said, "Here's what I want you to do. Put this at his an insertion. I want you to put this because I didn't have a glove at the time. Just tape this on the back of your hand, and then make sure you don't touch any other part of his body with your hand, or the current will go through. But just find that spot and massage it, and then do what you want to do with the massage. And for him, he felt it all melt under his fingers. It's
Hmm.
like the spasm just melted away. It's gone, and he couldn't find it. And he's like, "What happened?" I said, "This is what happens with microcurrent. Stuff just changes the ability for the body to, and it's still, if you really look at it, you're probably still hitting it with a big old shotgun versus, I mean, it's still overkill. That's why picoamps is probably even better."
That's so interesting. So I do acupuncture. It's not what I do for modern acupuncturists. They are okay with it. With old school acupuncturists, it's not as good, I guess, or they don't like it as much. But I do a lot of orthopedics, and I deal with stim as well. So I'll hook the acupuncture up, and I just had a hamstring
Sure.
injury the other day, and it was in a knot. And there are different hurts for different issues, obviously.
Hmm.
But I deal with the one hamstring issue that I had was I did 80 hertz, and it was for 5, 10 minutes. Now there's sometimes it's really interesting where the there's two things that could possibly happen. One, the current gets stronger, the sensation of the current gets stronger, the sensation of the current gets weaker. And the weaker is the adaptation where it's like, all right, the muscles really starting to take this in and it's adapting to it and it's okay, fine. And then when the current gets stronger, it's almost as if the pathway is blocked between the two needles.
Yeah,
And it's just
could be.
pummeling, and finally it bursts through. And now that pathway is clear. And now the muscle is actually capable of firing. So then the sensation is great. And then you need to let the sensation calm and adapt to that again. And I've, depending on what the issue is typically how it's going to dictate the hertz. But the hertz is essentially the frequency at which the pulsation occurs at. So
Hmm.
I've gotten a much better response with higher hertz than I have lower hertz. Have you noticed anything along those lines?
I think it depends on the waveform as
Yeah,
well.
we do. I do square waves. What waves
Yeah,
do you
see,
use?
I don't do any square wave at all, except I do a square wave with maybe pain reduction, but
And
most of the
that's all I do.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, and so otherwise I don't touch a square wave. Um, we
And that's all
use
that's available for the acupuncture needles is
I
the
know
square
that's why I
waves.
have a microcurrent because it's what they call it a tidal wave. So it's like this, so it's a cutoff. So if you have a square wave, it's basically halfway through that wave, and then you have a surface, and you can soften that. You can go all the way to a regular C, and then you can make it right up to a square wave, which is used mostly with really acute
Hmm.
problems, or I'm sorry, really chronic pain problems.
Hmm.
Um, Acute, you go to a soft wave and as low an amplitude as you can get.
Yes.
You know,
Yep. Yep.
um, otherwise you can really disturb the body. And then if you do that with um, some magnesium, particularly in spasms, you're probably going to get through that pretty fast. You'll have some.
Like a magnesium lotion.
You could use it. There is a suggestion that magnesium lotion goes through the body better than taking magnesium internally, but I think you've got to have the right carrier, whatever that is. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And also too, like I've experimented with some magnesium lotions, and sometimes guys get rashes and this and that. It's
depending on what it's, yeah,
Mhm.
the surfaces. I mean, whatever contains the magnesium. I mean, it can be an irritant.
What
A
what
big
kind of what kind of magnesium do you use?
Well, I use several different ones. Most of mine are internal. Um, so I use Carolyn Dean's version. She's got the liquid one, which I really like. Um, and then I use, because the athletes in China don't get any. I'll use a 7-factor one or 7 forms. Um, so I make sure they're getting every form of magnesium, just cover my bases. Is it perfect? No. And then I use Exatest to test for it to see if they're magnesium deficient. So exatest.com. They're in they're in where are they at? They're in Bedford, Oregon. Did you
Hmm.
find them?
I'm
Extra
looking. Is it Magnesium Miracle? Is that Carolyn Dean's?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And then Exatest is intracellular magnesium testing, not circulating levels,
And
extracellular.
it's magnesium chloride. That's
Hers has a couple. No, she's got a lotion, and then she's got one that you take, which is not magnesium chloride. It's
gotcha.
a different
Okay.
one. Yeah, yeah. Um, but Exatest, to me is just a standard test. Yeah, everybody should be taking it. It's your mineral test.
Hmm.
Before Balco and all of its craziness, when it was just a regular lab, they had the great mineral test. But since they went to the dark side, um, Exatest has been the one. And if you look them up, they do a pretty good job. It's still a little woo woo for a lot of people, but I don't think there's any doubt that we understand magnesium is a very, very important mineral in the human body, and we don't get enough of it.
Hmm.
I can recall a kid, high school kid that would just spasming all the time. I mean, bad, not even like nice, just really bad. And we tested him, and he was 2 standard deviations out. And when we did the NFL guys, they were usually 1 or 2 standard deviations, the guys that would spasm all the time. And in this kid, it took him 3 weeks of pretty solid magnesium taking orally to where he wouldn't spasm anymore. So it can be a big problem.
With the oral consumption, you don't get any gut irritation.
Nope, not if you have the right one. No. If you use zinc, if you use magnesium oxide, yeah, you're going to get irritation. If you use, there's one other one too, but you'll get some, but no, most of the time I don't, never have with magnesium, except oxide. Oxide, I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically if you're stuffed up, take magnesium oxide. That'll loosen things up eventually. Um, Zinc, you get a lot of it. Zinc and iron are those +2 valence, the minerals that really can be pretty disturbing to the stomach. And you have to have the right kind of those. But I've never
Hmm.
had anything with magnesium at all. Only
Hmm.
zinc and iron.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, Balco was the zinc magnesium aspartate. The ZMAs, they came out with those originally. Um,
He was the beginning. It's still there. They still sell it under snack.
mhm. And I mean, I used to take 3, 4 of those and just blow up my bathroom every morning.
Hey, I mean you had enough.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting part is snack ZMA is probably the cleanest ZMA on the planet right now.
Yeah.
If you had to, and to Victor's credit, he's tried to show people what happens if people are doing drugs. And I don't know why he went to the dark side. I've never had that lengthy conversation with him, but obviously he did, and he showed what they could do. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh,
Yep.
you know, geez, yeah, but yeah, magnesium is the only mineral I absolutely ask that the athletes take.
Yeah, I remember you saying that your
Yeah,
guys in China would get nervous even about taking magnesium.
uh, terribly. And then they wouldn't take it and then tell me, and then they'd spasm or
Yep.
hurt their hamstring. I'm like, okay, when did you stop taking your magnesium? Oh,
What
three
was
weeks ago.
what was
Yeah.
the dosage that you would use with them? Was there just a standard, hey, here's the shotgun treatment dosage for everyone,
Yep.
or were you?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
No, standard. I mean, you just, you had to at least do that. Basically 3 pills, let me see, 400 milligrams. So, um, 3 pills for the men and 2 for the women. If it was a really strong guy, then I might do 4. And remember, that's the minimum RDA.
Hmm.
So it's, we're not talking about 250 or 300-pound guys that are getting after
Yeah.
it in the weight room and sweating and all that. No, that's a different animal there. And that's why I think doing the EXA test with them is important. As a matter of fact, I think the people that do the EXA test were originally from New Jersey or New York, one of the two.
Hmm.
Can you see it there? You find it?
I'm gonna look up the X test right now.
EXA, EXATEST.
Exatest.fr. This it?
Well,
No,
correct.
different language.
Exatest.com
Here we go. Got that.
or .net.
Mitochondria exploration of intracellular
Yeah.
cellular space, magnesium, calcium, potassium, sodium, phosphorus, and chloride.
You know how everybody is now into methylation and what's
Yeah.
happening in the mitochondria? These guys are way ahead. I mean, we're talking 30. I've been using really Exatest since the early 90s.
60-second specimen collection, non-invasive.
Yeah.
And it's just
Basically
from your saliva.
it's a cheek swab or saliva. Yeah.
And do you have to get it analyzed or does it right on the spot?
No, you have to send it into the lab.
Gotcha.
They did. I haven't done it recently, so but yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Well, there's a lot of information in there on that website.
Yeah, I see
You
that.
you can read some pretty good science. And I think when you start to if you've done EKGs or omega wave, if you wish to do an EKG, or I don't even know if Orming would show it or not. I don't have mine on today. When you look at the electrical disturbance in the heart wave, that can be a major sign that we got a problem here with magnesium or calcium, one of the two.
That's interesting.
You know, when Ryan Shea passed away running the marathon back in 2007, I think, or 8, it was New York Marathon, so it must have been 7. That was the Olympic. Um, no, yeah, it must have been. Time's gone by, but I have been testing Ryan and told his coach, I said, hey, I can't get an ECG on him. I can't find a decent one that is not all messed up. And I said, I think you have a bigger problem. I told him this. They said, no, it's probably just this or this or that. I said, okay. And, I mean, somewhere I still have Ryan's test, but we could get no ECG. He died on the spot running the New York Marathon. And
What
I
was
think
what was his wave like?
didn't exist. Couldn't get it.
I don't understand.
It's a too great an electrical disturbance. Every time I tested him, I could never get an ECG on him.
Was that with the omega wave or was that with the, yeah.
That was with the regular the old omega wave where
Mm-hmm.
you put it on the chest and everything. And I
Yeah.
tried every which way, rotating everything to see if I could get his heart just that signal to respond, and I could never get it,
I wonder what it
not
would have
once.
showed up on the EKG.
Well, if you can't get a signal, I mean, it would have been pretty disturbing. I think you would have seen some real fluctuations in that RST wave because I mean, that thing had to be crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen my own after running and stuff, years ago when I was running, um, where you could see it was really changed. Um, but yeah, I could not, I just literally could get a waveform from him at all. Now, did it have to do with magnesium? I don't know. I mean, I certainly would have been the first place I looked,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, because they're not going to look intracellularly in an autopsy. They're
Yeah.
only going to look at fluids.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
fluids, of course, will never show,
In the
rarely
autopsy.
show,
Yeah.
or just in regular life will rarely show a magnesium deficiency in a regular test. But when you go intracellular, you can really see that there's a
Well,
problem.
well, and also after they're deceased anyway, intracellular, it won't even matter, right?
No, I think they probably could have still got something. I mean, certainly if they'd done the testing right away, but yeah, it's pretty short order. Things change to
Mm-hmm.
where you're not able to get what you'd like. I'm no authority on that, so I can't really say much, but yeah, but I do always remember that, and I always think to myself, man, this he did could he's the only person I ever could not get a registered EKG on the omega wave. The only one. I've had others where it wouldn't show up for maybe one test, but then the next test it's back, and we're doing something to help them, whether it's slow down, go for a walk,
Mm-hmm.
don't go for a hard run. Um, Ryan was the kind of guy that just ran, ran, ran. He was hard trainer, really hard, great kid. Um, but yeah, and I think those are things we don't often think enough about.
What do you make of HRV?
That's great.
You,
Been
you
using it
so
since
so
2001. Yeah.
yeah, I with some of the data that I've been looking at with Aura Ring and Aura Ring apparently is the most accurate HRV detector as far as the wearables go because it measures it like every 5 minutes or every whatever.
Less,
Um,
less, less than that, I think.
every minute is it what?
I can't remember. I think it's less than five though. But there's a couple of them out there. I mean, there's like 15 of these dang rings right now. I got a list of them on my. There's so many of them.
I know.
You know,
And I've been
and
with them. I've been with them almost since the beginning. I've been using them since they've been distributed in the U.S. I name dropped, got a hold of the
mhm.
CEO, and he's been hooking me up. He's not there anymore, but I was getting hooked up for years with them. I
Yeah, I
love
mean,
it.
I've had mine, I think, for 3 years. Well, no, couldn't be because I've got a three. So whenever the three came out, I got that one. So I
Yeah,
wanted to wait
I
until
love it.
then.
I love it. But I've the more I've been looking at it, it's like the HRV is more of a reflection, at least for me, and some of the things that I've observed with my guys. It's a reflection of the resting heart rate more than anything else. No?
Well, yeah, if you have no AI with it, that's all it shows you. It's all it's just R values.
Hmm.
But so that's where Omega Wave was different because Omega Wave actually read the wavelengths, read them, and did the math on them. I mean, these were highly specialized Russian physicists and mathematicians. Yeah, I mean, I know them all, and they were brilliant guys when it came to this particular part. And then you mix that with a physiologist, and they were just that ability for them to take an EKG and read off of it all the stuff that can be wrong with you. It's pretty darn amazing.
Was that
I
Val Nasedkin?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Val, yeah. Yep. Then Val wasn't the scientist. Val was the promoter of it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, he had three other people that were really, really heavily involved. So I think that you'd have to have a special mind and some math skills to actually read an HRV and know what it really meant.
Mm.
And that's where the omega wave shines over everybody else. It's the gold standard by far, you know. Um,
So you think it's
even
still worth getting now?
Oh yeah, if you could find it. I mean, I still use it with right now I use it with two of the athletes in China so I can see what's happening to them every day, you know. Um, it still gives you some of the basic things that you want. Mind you, you've lost a little of the consistency of testing because athletes are never
Yeah.
going to be like you were.
Hmm.
And I wish that Aura would do more with what they have. And I like the fact that they're a Finnish company and the Finns are pretty much the best at HRV in the world at this point, have
Mm.
been. But yeah, it essentially just gives you RR values, and your Aura ring for sure is just giving you RR values. It says, oh, it went up. Oh no, it's 90 today. Well, 90 speeds it a little tighter.
Hmm.
Does that mean that you're worse or better or less recovered? Not necessarily.
Yep.
Not necessarily at all. You
My
know,
HRV is always in the 20s. Always in the 20s and the 30s.
mm, so you never recover.
Apparently, I've never had triple digit HRV.
Mine's almost always above 90, but it could be age related too. I mean, my pulse at this age is, 42 to 45, 47
Yeah,
most
mine's
days.
mine's in the high 50s, low 60s.
Well, if yours is in the high 50s, you should be at least a 70 or 80 in there.
Yep. Yeah, it's wild. And I've never been good at cardio. Hate cardio and I'm not good at
Yeah. Oh, I know that feeling. Excuse my yawn. Yeah,
it.
I still have a little jet lag, so
No worries. But
and I'm
listen,
only two days
eh,
back.
I've kept you on the horn for two and a
Yeah,
half
but
hours.
I mean, we haven't really talked much for a podcast. I mean, but you've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Um, we can get more directed as you go. It's the first time we've had a chance to talk, so you can do with what you want. And we can have something specific, another time for sure. I'm going to be doing nothing for the next few months, so I'm
Awesome.
going to
I'm
be
gonna have
sitting
you
home.
on.
Yeah, I'm going to be sitting home trying to organize freaking videos and like I just finished the duplicate finder, so I have. Let's see. Okay, so I have 322,000
Duplicates.
duplicates.
Yeah.
Half.
Yeah.
No, well, not half, but
Yeah.
40%. 40% duplicates right
So
now.
you record every session.
Yeah, pretty much.
Holy
Pretty close.
shit.
Yeah, and not keep everyone, but yeah. I mean, in China, I have a lot, and even most of that video is I have now. I don't have that anymore. I have other people doing it, and they keep it and on their own servers there. So yeah, it's when you don't speak the language, that's the language you use is visual.
Hmm.
You can't use the someone tried to argue this with me recently, going, well, if you'd learned the language, you could have really. I said, guys, I could have learned that language, and I never would have been able to get, even in 10 years, probably to the nuance
Yeah.
of what it means and how you would communicate that, because even the translators have a hard time
Yep.
taking something that's English and breaking it down into that character type language. I mean, it's really hard.
Ask ask any coach. I mean, elite coaches trying to convey that precise, concise message to that one person so it
Yeah.
resonates with them. Like you almost need to know their entire family background to be able to do this type
Well,
of stuff.
well, people have heard me in talks. Well, I'll go, look, the most frustrating thing in the world is you're telling somebody, look, I want you to do blue, okay, and go do blue, and try blue, and then you start going, I want you to do blue, and your
Yep.
voice raises a little bit, and then the assistant coach comes over and goes, oh, you just need to do blue. and they get it, and you're like, I want to kill you, because you've you've been saying the same thing, and somebody else comes over, says the exact same thing, and it gets through. And that just goes to tell you what communication barriers really can get set up based upon how you're approaching it and whatnot. So you can shut down communication absorption very easily, if you're not careful, But yeah, it's a and it's one of the reasons why Nick's book and on cueing was so cool to come up and do. I mean, he found a niche there that was pretty good. Nick Winkleman, and today, um, that whole sense of cueing becomes, well, first of all, it becomes non-existent in a foreign language. You can't cue, you draw pictures. I want you to do this. Your iPad becomes your best friend. So everything you're doing is on your iPad, and you're taking out your pencil and you're trying to draw on the screen. Sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. And when they do, and people are pretty amazed. They said, wait a minute, you coached them and you never spoke the language and they didn't either? I said, yeah. Sue doesn't speak English.
And had the fastest 60 ever.
Yeah, fastest 30 and 60. 6:29 is fast. That's rolling. Now, if I could have had a little more time, I might have been able to get his max velocity straightened out. But, we had to go with his strength first. He was already a good accelerator, and I knew I could make that better because I could see the flaws. But his max velocity was the thing that really was holding him back. And he got much better at it, mostly coordination-wise and a little length, stride length, but he never got the energy system trained. That's my fault. I never quite got him there.
Why? Just the time?
Just time. There was just not enough time. I could have conditioned him, but I want to condition him under the auspices of technique. I don't want to just condition. So if I'm gonna put somebody that small, and they've got to be technically on, and I want to condition them when they're technically on. And so you can't. There's only so much time. And he was injured with a low back, and then he always had very, very poor aerobic ability. So I had to develop that slowly because you couldn't develop it fast. It's a sprinter like that. It's pretty hard to do anyways. But yeah, he eventually could run 90s and 120s pretty fast, but he didn't have enough race against the big boys to learn how to relax and feel the track. You got to get in the mix.
Yep.
You just have to be in the mix, or in one time or two times, you're going to find that. And you're going to have this part of the race, and then you're going to have that part of the race, and you're going to understand what it means. He just never had a chance to do it.
Yeah, COVID screwed him over, you said, right?
Well, he did best. He ran that in 21, so it was after COVID. Now COVID has screwed him over. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 3 times this year. Yeah.
It just wasn't on the track enough to really experience and to learn. And isn't that funny?
Wasn't racing enough.
Yes.
Racing enough. He's on the track enough, but he wasn't racing enough, because racing's the last part of training. And if you don't get the racing in, you never get the final stages of training.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah, I think with maybe 3 more races against the big boys, he probably would have been able to push himself under 9.8. I had his max at about 9.78, 9.77. Is really what I thought ultimately he could do. And he came close to it. I mean, I wasn't that far off. You couldn't, you couldn't take a stopwatch and get that and do that and get that far off. So, I mean, we were close. When you look at the race, you look at the end of the race, you could tell he was back to old Sue. He was tightening up, and it's lucky he won that. But he was going to have to run that fast in order to get through that heat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if in this Olympics if the heats were faster or not. The final was for sure, but I don't think the heats were. I mean, think about it. 9.83. Two guys ran 983, 1985, 1987, or something like that
Yep.
in the heat.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, you better be ready to run. Yeah, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm just going to relax in the heats. I'll make the final."
And recover from that
Yeah.
and repeat.
Yeah. Well, I think Su probably would have medaled if he didn't have a false start in the final. Not him, but somebody false started.
Mhm.
He just didn't have enough left. And if he could have gone, he might have been able to pull that off. But after that false start, it was definitely over. And after his emotional outburst, he really left himself emotionally on the track after the semifinal.
Yeah.
You know, that was the number he never thought he'd ever see. And it
Mhm.
was that emotional.
Yeah. Yep.
And you think about it, 1.4 billion, 1.3 billion people watch that race.
Is that how many?
The most ever in history that I'm aware of. That's Asia for you. That's India, Indonesia, Japan, China, amongst those and that whole group. That's how many people.
That's incredible.
Just it's nuts. Yeah, it's
At the
nuts.
same time.
At the same watching that race at the same time. Yeah. So, it's somewhere some crazy number. I'm sure that whoever told me that is probably wrong by a bit, but even if it was under, even if it was, even if it was a million,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like that's a lot of people, but no, it was in the billion. It was that high.
That's incredible. I had
It's
no
the
idea it
Olympic.
was that many.
It's when they told me, I said, "How many people again? You sure you don't mean a million? No, no, it's a billion. They recorded a billion signals, somewhere in that area, in that whole region. And that's when people don't realize how much it meant to Asia to have somebody who's not African, not African heritage run. Of course, people don't realize is African heritage everywhere. And, if you go to southern China and look around, you're going to see the faces of a lot of folks you see in the United States
Mhm.
that are African American. I mean, they're dark. They have the same features. It's really you have to look twice to go, oh no, that's Chinese,
Hmm.
or they look a lot of Native Americans. You get a lot of Chinese look just like Navajo and and certainly Inuit, but you
China
know,
is huge.
it's a big
Huge
place.
geographically. It's humongous. You're going to have everything. And that's one thing Rolf said to me. He goes, "We should be winning gold medals in everything because we have everything. Have everything."
Well, yeah, they have everything except the training. You know,
Yes. Yes. Well,
I mean,
I mean
in
from
certain sports,
yeah.
in certain sports, but yeah, I mean, you've got the European influence at one level. I mean, you get people say, well, God, all the Chinese are so small. I'm like, no, 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 no,
Mhm.
no, sorry.
Depends on the
I mean,
region.
it certainly does. And in the training center, yeah, the gymnasts were small. The weightlifters were the next height, judo over there. But after that, everybody was taller than me. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, they're big kids. Even my jumpers are my heights now. Now I'm shrinking as I get older. Now they're taller. They make fun of me for that. I'm taller than you now. Okay. But when I went there, I was stronger than any of my athletes. To give you an idea, and I'm not that strong. You know, they were weak. They were that weak.
Jeez.
Yeah,
At 60 years old.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could still deadlift three. Let me see. Hold on. Sorry. Gotta make sure I have this right. 220 kilos. I could still just walk up and pick it up, not like
Really?
prepare for it. Yeah, just walk up, pick it up and put it down, you know. Um, I just always had that kind of strength. But um, and on the Keiser squat, I could still do a half squat well over 300 kilos. on the Keiser squat, but that's not saying much really. That's actually pretty easy to do if you've got any strength at all. 300 kilos is pretty easy. But they couldn't at first, and then to do it fast, then to start getting to the point where you can do it fast, that's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And in introducing Rolf to all that, Ralph and Rolf, to that, and I'll always remember Rolf not believing me and taking his little micro lab and going to the gym, said, "I'm gonna prove you wrong." Okay, okay, go for it. I hope so. And yeah, come back, and it wasn't defeated. It was like, damn, you're right. What? How could that be? And it was eye-opening for him. It changed the course of his life. Um, and strength coaches get kind of mad at me because I'll say, you don't really have a high performance center here if you don't have Keiser.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, first of all, they don't all talk like that, but they get mad, and it's like, look, what you have in this room is basically all the same, and it's limiting, and I don't like limits. So what I'm saying to you is, performance is removing limitations, and you're creating limitations by not having a few things in here that could really help you out. It'd be interesting to talk to Buddy now. I haven't talked to Buddy in years to see how Buddy feels about everything. And if I ever created a gym, it would be a combination of things, of course. And I think the combination of air and mass is the best overall. But when we lift, let's say Keiser squat only, and then we go to a regular squat, we're really strong.
Yeah.
It gets you really strong.
Yeah.
You're experiencing some of that now, yourself. So.
Yep. Yeah. We have the Keiser half rack, the power runner, and I also have a infinity tower.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
And it's
that half rack, you could do so much on that half rack.
I know. We have a leak in one of the tubes. I got to figure out where the hell the leak is.
It's
It's
almost always at the connector. Just go to the connectors.
that's what they said. I when I fixed the connector, it didn't freaking work.
Well, no, there's more than one. You talking about the rack?
Yeah, the half
Yeah,
rack.
there's the half rack. Yeah, there's one,
There's the ones on the bottom and the
two,
ones on
three,
top.
four.
So there's
So did
six connectors.
yeah, I think there's six. The one on the strip below, that's
Mm-hmm.
usually the one that gets it. But yeah, I mean, you just take bubble bath, or,
Yeah.
and you go and you wipe it on there and look for a little air. Take the air up high so you can really hear it. Yeah, because that's the place where it gets crimped and moved usually, is on the strip going across. Underneath that is where you end up with in my experience, when it gets put together, that's where you get it.
Well, that strip there is it's not a plastic tube anymore. That was a copper tube that I have. So that one's not bad. I got to figure out where else it is.
Yeah, but it's still the one that gets the connectors that gets messed up the most there.
Oh, the connector. Okay.
The connector does. The connector through the tube, because you've got, I think you have, I'm not even sure anymore. You used to have one connector in the middle. And I think there was three total. One in the middle and two on the side, but I can't remember now. Been so many years since I took one apart.
Yeah, I just took it apart to bring it over.
Yeah. So yeah, you're almost 90% of the time it's right there.
Okay.
Yeah. And or where you're pressing down with on the actual things.
And because the screen stays on, they said it's probably that one. But dude, I tried. It's just not. They said take it apart, pull the string apart, put it back in, and it just didn't work. I got to figure something out. I mean, it works fine. I just got to maintain pressure, the air pressure. I have to keep my foot on it while the person's performing the rep, and then when they're done, it just leaks out. It slowly leaks out.
Can you hear where it's coming from?
No.
Can you hear? Because you know the exhaust for it when you do it minus is inside the tube. So when you hear a shh and you're letting air out, it,
Hmm.
it lets it out inside the rack.
I don't hear a thing when the pressure's going down.
Hmm. And you took off the back and looked inside too.
Hmm. Well, no, I didn't take off the back. I didn't take off the back. I took off the valves. I did, or the buttons to pull. I didn't take off the
Yeah,
back though.
the,
I
the
got to take off
buttons
the
are
back.
no, take off the back and check around the cylinder. Although that's usually not where it is, but
Hmm.
can be, you know. Um, yeah, it's one of them because
Yeah.
it's going out,
Hmm.
and you check the actual connector at the compressor too.
Yeah, but they told me because the off button, the what's it called, the numbers on the screen stay on, that it's definitely valve related.
Valve related. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. More than likely then it's your valves at the feet
Yeah,
down below
that's
then.
that's what I'm assuming. And I just got to figure out how. I just got to get parts to replace it, I guess.
Well, a lot of times, and you check this out, when you lay it down, the valve, the thing actually gets tilted up and it's
Hmm.
or down and so it stays.
The button stays pressed,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
And
I did that too. It's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
yeah, but I bought
Well,
them used, so I got to figure out what the hell I did.
yeah, but still probably a pretty good deal.
Hell yeah! Are you kidding? I spent 6 grand on those 3 pieces of equipment. That's worth every penny.
I
Every
remember
penny.
I remember when the strength coach came into Michigan after Aaron was there, or before Aaron, no, after, and he sold all the Keiser racks, $500. Oh, it's like, damn, really?
Let me know
Five
when that
hundred bucks
happens
for a cut?
again.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it can happen. These guys come in and they don't understand it, don't know what they've got, and they get
Hmm.
rid of it because they want to bring in this really cutesy thing that allows monkeys to play on it.
The power
And it's
racks,
well, whatever it
or
may
the
be,
jungle gyms and stuff. Yep.
because they
Yep.
want to be able to program multiple people, and I totally understand it. But they also have a great tool that if they really want to get to straight up, they should at least take it and go put it in the Olympic area.
Hmm.
They want to take it out of football, go ahead. I don't suggest it, but go ahead. Just go put it over in the Olympic side.
Back in 2014, I had the opportunity to get a couple of pieces of Kaiser for free. And I was like, nah, I don't need that shit. I keep it basic. What a schmuck.
Well,
You don't know what you don't know.
no, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't. I mean, it's hard for people. Even sometimes I have to think about it. I mean, I've been using it since 1983. This ain't new for me, you
Yep.
know. And when I hear people talk, there's a lot of things like this that come up, and this just came up with Marco Cardinale the other day. He was doing jump testing and stuff, and he shows his jump mat from 1995 or whatever, and I was like, yeah, remember, you know. And people are thinking all this new stuff. I'm like, dude, this stuff has been here
Yep.
for a long, long time. So, anyways. I think I'll get some lunch and go for a bike ride since I've got to get my bike ride in.
Randy, thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time. I really
anytime, it's
appreciate
great.
you.
It gets my mind thinking, so at least it's not falling apart here. Uh, of course, when I look at my office, it's like, oh shit, what am what am I gonna do with that? I mean, I need if I could where is it? There. I mean, I need to bring somebody in to help me. Like, see, there's my free lap. Whoop, there's my free lap right there. And then all my books are up over there. There they are. Up here, here. Stereos over. No, where's the stereo? Stereos, no, stereos over there. There it is. Uh, it's just like, damn, man. Uh, it it's frustrating to try to organize all of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, this whole thing right here, go right there, there it is. That's all sports books and physiology. Those
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 14 are all just sports stuff, track, physiology, strength, Russian books, whatever may be there. Yeah, it's a nice library to have. I mean, I don't have to go to the library,
Yeah.
you know, that's for sure.
But now all that stuff is digital anyway.
The majority of it should be. Some of these
Yeah.
books are out of print and aren't, are not digital, never or won't be. I still have my first manuscript from super training that Mel gave me to go over. It's up there somewhere. It's hidden. It's hidden in there because he sent me his first manuscript and we went through it, and that was pretty cool to do. I think my camera just moved.
No, no, no. It's all right.
There it is. Okay. Anyways, great. Yeah, anytime, but that's not right because it's seeing the that we, no, I don't remember it being crooked like that before. There we go. This one's crooked, that one's not. But anyhow, um, yeah, there's the coach in you. Oh, got to be perfect. Yeah. Um, yeah, anytime, come up with a specific subject too, and now you've had a chance to see my mind work in a weird way. Didn't get a lot out of it today, but you got a chance to chat some more specifics. I'd have to think about it, of course, and be a little more prepared.
Awesome.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
sure. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate you. Give me a little chance to spout it off.
Anytime, coach.
Okay. All right.
Take
Take
it
care.
easy.
Okay, man. Bye bye.